Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good week, staying warm and dry and safe. So, we are well underway here. We've talked about what geography is. We've also talked about what political geography is. So, now we're going to start on the first of our themes for this semester. And this theme, this thing, is an active force in today's world. It often shapes current events, from things like whether to close borders because of a pandemic, to questions about who's on which side in the conflict in Yemen, to whether Tibet should be an independent country. All of these things have aspects of our first theme in them, our first topic, and that is nationalism. Borders is going to be our second topic. But remember that all of these ideas, and the fact that we're talking about nationalism, and then we're going to talk about borders, those are really artificial barriers. Silos, right? That's the popular way to refer to when we're imposing artificial borders and boundaries on something. Those are really artificial divisions between these different ideas. These things are deeply interconnected. It's difficult to talk about nationalism without talking about borders, since nationalism is inherently linked to territory. And where a border is, or where it shouldn't be, is often an issue wrapped up in nationalistic feelings and ideas and part of many movements that are fired by nationalism. Think of Kurdistan, for example, and the fact that it would really like to have its own territory, right? The Kurds really would like to have Kurdistan. But that area that they claim as theirs, though there are borders from Turkey and Syria and Iraq and Iran. So we really can't separate these issues of nationalism and border. But we still have to break things into chunks so that we can learn about them, get the foundations right, and then start to really see and appreciate those interconnections. But just keep in mind that we are imposing artificial divisions between these things. So this week, the first of our, I think, 4 weeks here in nationalism, our topic is what nationalism is and what it isn't, how it's a force in the world, and how it continues to affect things, especially how we think about ourselves, especially how we think about what is us and what is them, and how we define those things and who we label that way. So we're going to start discussing where nationalism came from this week and the different theories about whether nationalism is something that is ancient, that is a primordial force back lost in time that's been around, and that humans have always organized themselves this way? Or is it something that's a lot newer? Or maybe it's a new idea that we think of as old, but may or may not be. Mysterious and complicated, right? So this week, definitions and foundations, some background. And next week, we'll start applying these ideas and talking about how nationalism is linked to culture, popular culture, and how that contributes to different identities around the world. Our third week, we're going to look at some case studies and look into more detail about nationalism around the world and some cases where nationalism is a fundamental driving force. Okay? So let's see, what else did I want to say to introduce this topic? The readings for this first week, one of them is from a book called Imagined Communities by Benedict Anderson. It's one of the huge, really well-known books about nationalism and geography. It was written in the 80s and continues to have a very good reputation. He's a really big name. So we're going to be reading some excerpts from that. And one of the other readings comes from a pretty famous textbook by Jeffries that is very cleverly called Political Geography. And it lays kind of the definition and evolution of nationalism. And then the last big piece for this first week is the third piece of a documentary by a British historian named David Reynolds. He is now at Cambridge, but he actually used to be in Nebraska and in Oklahoma. So he interestingly worked pretty close to us. He's written a number of books, including the book that this documentary was based on called The Long Shadow. And I really recommend the whole documentary. All of it is on YouTube. But this is a documentary about World War I and the way that the effects of World War I actually still echo today, even though in some ways we've forgotten aspects of World War I. So that's another thing that we're gonna discuss with nationalism. So the discussion's up for the week. The readings are here. Let me know what questions you have, and I will talk to you guys soon.